And today is a deluxe, let's say, edition, because we have a very, very special friend with us, and we're going to be transported today virtually to Bolivia. So let us introduce a very, very close friend, actually one of the most beloved friends for Marek, a friend of many years.
Yes,
please.
A friend of many years. I know him like 10 years, and I travel around South America with my work. I'm sure I can tell you that he is one of the best guides, not just in Bolivia, in all the continent, for sure.
And our friend is Renan Ibañez. He's from Bolivia, and he is so kind that he accepted to be today with us, invited as a host, and he's going to be talking about the theme that, he's the most passionate about, his country. So muchas gracias, Renan. Gracias, amigo.
Well, it's a big pleasure. Thank you, Vanessa. Thank you, Marek, for your trip. And thank you to all your friends to have me in your computers. And I want to show you a little bit of my country. I want to show you how nice and interesting is my country. Perfect. Yeah. So our location in South America is very interesting. We are considered the heart of this continent in South America. That's why I did Bolivia, heart of South America. Okay, so first of all, so if you can see the first mapa, the first interesting one is South America, as you can see. So Bolivia is right in the center of this continent. We have different regions in my country. In fact, we have 5 different regions, starting from the very hot and humid lands in the Vanessa. This is my country, Bolivia. So this is the regions we have in this part. So the hot and very humid lands is in the eastern part of my country, Bolivia. And we have going up, so we have the subtropical region, we have the humid valleys and the dry valleys, and we get the mountains of the Andes and the high plateau in the other side. And again, we have the other mountain range, which is considered the eastern range, making border with Chile. And Bolivia politically is divided in 9 departments. We call departments, and the departments are like states for some of you countries, or provinces, you know. And the most important one is La Paz. This is the departments are also very important for the economy in my country, Bolivia. But basically today I want to talk about the western part of my country, La Paz, Titicaca Lake, and the Tiwanaku archaeological site. We have in the southwest, if you can see, this white section is the largest salt flat in the world, called Uyuni. But according, so our talking with Vanessa and Marek, we are going to have other lecture in the close future to talk about that very interesting section. Next, please, Vanessa. Okay, this part is one very interesting part of Bolivia, is one archaeological site in Bolivia. So we can see, although this is almost in the upside down, this is a monument very similar of many other different civilizations in the world. So the name of this place is Tiwanaku, away from La Paz City, is where in the 1909 Arthur Poznański discovered rests of archaeological artifacts like big rocks in a row. So in that moment, it had still covered underneath. So, and in 1930s, we started with Wendell Bennett from United States, is one archaeologist who came to Bolivia, and we start to dig up all this section, and incredibly we discover monuments like this. It's very interesting. Look at the hands, it's perfectly represented. Is the solar plexus position. Look at the eyes and look at the very interesting decoration around the mouth. Many archaeologists says is a beard, but we don't have people with beard in this that moment, and in this moment too. Probably was the representation of people coming from other parts of the earth, or it has been represented like one very sacred monument for the local people. But for many of us, so it represents some other culture who came to South America, so with long beard, and they were very wise people, and they were mixed with us in Tiwanaku. Tiwanaku definitely is a culture civilization in South America. The origin, according many archaeologists, is in between the 1500 BC. But some archaeologists, they say probably is longer way before. So because we have some very interesting writing system or symbols, very similar as in Sumeria found, you know, it's very interesting, all of it in this culture. We have some walls, some temples reconstructed by now, because the decadence of Tiwanaku, it was in the 1500, the beginning, the decadence was in the 1200 after Christ, because the weather conditions were really, really bad for locals in the high plateau of South America. When I talk about the high plateau, I'm saying over 3,000 meters above sea level, or 9 monuments to found in the area. Next, please, Vanessa. And this is very interesting too. Artifacts found in the area, like the Sun's Gate, which represents the traditional activity the people in Tiwanaku had, which was the agriculture activity, which was the base of economy of the locals at that time. And this monument has lots of signs on the meander. So, and it represents the calendar, how they had been managing this other one in the top of this section. We can see one doorway, which is the entrance of Kalasasai, another very interesting temple. And if you can see, so the rocks are perfectly interlocked. So you had before one very interesting explanation about Machu Picchu, you know, and Sacsayhuaman, and very interesting relationship with Tiwanaku. This is before, and the people from Tiwanaku, they had been taken from the high plateau to the valley of Cusco and Sacred Valley, and they had been used to build many of that temples too with this technique to interlock the rock, especially feeding perfectly the rocks in between those, of course, rocks in the area. This is another wall. Next, please, Vanessa. This is Tiwanaku, absolutely impressive. And look, presented the different ethnic groups Tiwanaku had performing one. Some people were saying empire, but they were considered one important group of people in the Andes, in Bolivia and part of Peru. They were in the north of Argentina and north of Chile. And this is another monument, you know, and right around the belt, it represents like some animal that is not very typical to see in the Andes, in the mountains. It's a crab here. It's a crab. If you will have the chance, we are inviting you to come to Bolivia. You are going to be in that section, and we are going to see together that section, which is a crab, and the people says, why is a crab represented? This is like in this section I am marking, I don't know if you can see it, is like the little arms of the many archaeologists says, why crab in this high place? Uh, Probably the Tiwanakus were trying to represent the culture from the sea level, but in the mountains, which were considered very, very sacred, and people from the sea level were coming up like pilgrims, right? Next, please, Vanessa. Okay, so other place very close of Tiwanaku is Titicaca Lake. You know, Titicaca Lake was one very important place for the ancient civilization because it was water. Like for the Egyptians, the Nile River had been very important for the living, you know, in Titicaca Lake definitely was very important for the people who were living around the Titicaca Lake, like Tiwanakus, and after that we had the Aymaras, and after that the Incas, before the Spanish arrival. And Titicaca Lake has 72 islands, and the largest island is the island of the sun, and we say in Spanish, Isla del Sol. And so this island has, from this point in the south to the northern part, 12 kilometers, and an average wide of 8 is approximately in between 80 to 88 square kilometers, right? So that was considered the birthplace of the Incas, but before of the Incas, we had other civilizations, and they did build some other archaeological, you know, constructions like temples. Next, please. And Titicaca in a in the very Spanish way. Ticaca. Normally is how probably you can read in books, how you can see in maps, but the original one in our local tongue, Aymara, Itiqua, Titicaca, which is very good to learn pronunciation. Titi is the meaning of the gray puma we had, and we have still in the Andes, the pumas, the cougars, and caca, where pumas living around the Titicaca Lake, and after that they represented like very sacred animal in that part of the Titicaca Lake, right? So, and we have a nice boat made out by locals, and that boats are made by the local material called totora. Is a reed, is an aquatic reed. Is the very close family of the papyrus in the Nile River. And over here, our native people, they did build these sort of canoes, boats, and very good and floating on the Titicaca Lake. Next, please. And this is one very interesting replica of some expeditions Toheyedal from Norway made, you know, 1947, 1969, 1970, trying to prove the theory that many continents had been connected by the water. So many people had been with different origins, and they had been mixed up. So in the case of the Aymaras in South America, many Aymaras, which is pre-Inca civilization, Asian. And this is how one possibility that they were probably crossing the Pacific, crossing the Atlantic, you know, and getting contact commercially with other continents. Next, please. That is one very big community, Copacabana, which is very famous in the world, is Copacabana since the Inca period, and a little bit before of the Inca civilization time. We are talking about probably 500 after Christ, when they were calling Cota Cahuaña. Cota means lake, Cahuaña means viewpoint place. The viewpoint of the Titicaca Lake was the community name. Today is one touristic point, and you can see some hills, and over here are viewpoints. You can see the sunset impressively from the top, and we are facing the west. We are in the east, we are facing the west. How is the sunsets? Are a spectacular one. Today is in a small community of no more than 8,000 inhabitants, but over there is the very interesting Virgin of Copacabana, which is a sacred symbol of the Catholic religion. Next one, please. And coming to one very big urban and metropolitan area is La Paz. And La Paz had been constructed right at the foot of that mountain. It's a gorgeous mountain. It's part of the Andes. The Andes in South America is longer than the Himalayas, longer than the Alps. It is approximately 8,000 kilometers, all the way from the southwest of Venezuela and ending up in Tierra del Fuego and in the Argentinian lowest part. And this mountain is part of it. The height of that mountain is 6,429. It's a little bit more than 20,000 feet high. Right in the foot is La Paz city, is the most important city today in Bolivia. So next one, please. And La Paz has very interesting corners. Basically, the Indians were constructing houses with mud bricks, the roof. But after that, the Spanish arrived in 1532, and we were influenced by the Spaniards, dominated by the Spaniards, and we've been mixed. And today, La Paz City and Bolivia and many big centers of South America is a mixture in between the Spanish traditions with the local traditions mixed with the modernism. This is one traditional street we maintain still today in La Paz, which is Calle Jaén or Jaén Street. It's very interesting house with a very traditional neoclassic style. You can see that in the southern part of Spain. And this other one on the right is a picture of the National Parliament building with this impressive column, which is Corinthian, Corinthian column. And that buildings are definitely after the independence. But we had another flag, which is this one, very colorful one with 7 colors. We call the Huipala, which represents the ancient civilization culture flag. Next one, please. Okay, I guess we are close to end up. This is the presidential palace. We have a president in Bolivia. We elect every 5 years a president. So this is the presidential palace. This yellow, the Bolivian flag, but the president doesn't live in that palace. The president lives in other house, is the place where he works, where he has all his meetings and all his official, activities in La Paz. This is one place visiting with some friends from different parts of the world, and a great view of La Paz, which is one very interesting valley, very jagged valley, is with lots of hills, very hilly. Next one, please. And so we have the Valley of the Moon. Is very close of the Andes Mountains, is volcanic ashes formation, is totally eroded, is clay, and the water in many thousands of years gave that a spectacular shape, erode totally, and the wind carved that, we call it, and we can walk through because our gaps in between the 10 minutes, 15, 20, 1 hour, 2 hours of walking are options in the area. This is very close of La Paz. This is part of the city. It's very interesting one. So next one, please. And And this is one very interesting, although the quality of our slides is quite low, but this is salt. Is for the next lecture we're going to have. So we are going to invite you. We're going to thank you, Marek and Vanessa, but this is Salar of the Salt Flat, which is the most impressive salt flat in the world. It's very interesting, one with different attractions too. Okay, this is what I want to show you in these slides, and some more details I want to share with you with a very interesting video too. I don't know how you did hear me in all this lecture, my friends.
We're here to interrupt.
Now this is the salt flat again. This is one island. We call island because it's all these elevations of rocky hills over the salt flat. Definitely is volcanic formation with petrified coral on it, because it was one big sea in South America, as well as was Titicaca Lake. Titicaca Lake is surviving thanks of the Andes and the snow coming down. But in all this area, if you can see in this peak, you will see in the background are other mountains, but are lower and no snow in that mountains. That's why is drier this area than the area of Titicaca Lake upper. The evaporation, so the dryness made that area totally dead, and the salt stay on is about 120 meters is the depth of full of salt in that area. It's definitely impressive too. So I guess it's the okay, some other photos all of salt. This is when we have in the rainy season. So we have a film of water of about 3 to 10 centimeters, and you can see reflections. This is impressive also during the rainy season in the austral section of the world, which is in South America, right? So next one, please. Okay, this is a sunset in the area, and very impressive too in the salt flat Uyuni. Okay, next one, I guess, is this is what new investments in the area, the domos, you know, you can sleep in it, you can having one interesting adventure over there too. Okay, next. All right, you can have also one very interesting launch or one very nice sunset. And this is a volcano, Tunupa. So now we can organize very interesting activities around, and also one, this is a lunch, lunchtime with very traditional, of course, options in meals, right? And next one. So this is thanks to Marek also, this is one small company we have in Bolivia. So East Andes Bolivia Tours. And this is info isandes@gmail.com. We are starting with you want to follow us, we are going to start with more information in different parts of Bolivia, different attractions. Maybe you can follow us. Okay. Thank you. Up to this part, I want to share a couple of videos more, please.
Okay, so by the way, thank you so much for this first part. It's amazing to see through pictures the beauty of Bolivia, but Bolivia is so much more than, you know, the La Paz zone and the salt flats. I've been able also to see with Marek other parts of Bolivia. Do you remember the warm part of Santa Cruz?
Santa Cruz,
oh, so beautiful too.
Very interesting geological formations in the center of Bolivia. Toro National Park is my favorite place. So in the future, Renan will also explain us about that.
You are in troubles, Renan, because you're going to be invited like often to our channel, because, well, we actually have recommended him to start his YouTube channel because he has so much information. But we are really glad to have you here first, and to help you also with this little kick for you to start doing something well, virtual, no? Because now the world is turning into this direction, and well, definitely you are in great hands if you want to travel to Bolivia. So that's why we asked him to give you all of his contacts. And also, because we're going to be uploading this video in our YouTube channel, we're going to be putting all of his contacts also in the screen during this edition.
How impressive is the colonial construction. And look at my city. This is one modern area in the city center of La Paz. Look at the slopes. Look at the higher ways up on the mountains, many houses, markets. It's the mixture of the modernist, the traditional, the history, and we have also the cable car. Is the longest cable car service on the earth, with 33 kilometers of construction in the city. This is when we go to Titicaca Lake, and it's just a couple of hours away from La Paz City. To get that point, that town is called San Tiquina, and we cross to this other side, St. Peter of Tiquina, and this is the canal. It's a natural canal. We call a strait, and look at the way how we cross. You have to cross definitely this part. The other way is surrounding Titicaca Lake, but we have to cross to Peru, because Titicaca Lake is a lake shared in between Peru and Bolivia. Peru has the 54% of Titicaca Lake. Bolivia has the 46% of Titicaca Lake, but as Vanessa said, we share the culture, we share everything. We have great relationship in between our countries. The only difference is the border. The border is are dividing us. But this is a spectacular view of Titicaca Lake. It's very clear water. The temperature is not, of course, the best. It's 10 degrees centigrade, but it's very clear. That water, as I mentioned before, this lake is still surviving thanks to that water coming from the Andes mountain range. So from here, from this point, is about an hour to go to Copacabana, and Copacabana is the place where you take a boat to go to the island of the sun and the moon. Like we believe in duality, the sun and the moon, the island of the sun and the island of the moon, other island. This is Copacabana Islands. This is the island of the sun. It's the biggest island of Titicaca Lake. And we have also the island of the moon, which is smaller, but island of the moon has this very impressive temple dedicated to the virgins of the Inca civilization. We have walkings on the islands. In this case, the island of the sun. We walk in between the terraces. Impressive construction. Look at the island. In the rainy season, is with the terraces. It is definitely the agriculture was the base of the economy in the area. We have places where you can have a rest, you can just eat something. This is the community. It's a small chapel in between the trees, Catholic chapel. Places where you can visit in that area. If you can see on the shores of Titicaca Lake, we have a plant. That green plant is called the totora. And the totora is the reed we used to build the reed boat. Copacabana, this is the viewpoint section where if you climb up, it's not very hard, it's not very easy, But if you have time, you can climb up slowly, slowly up to the top, which is 4,060 meters above sea level. You know, and the view is so gorgeous. You can see the same as we can see with the drone, like today. And look at the very interesting view of the lake. This is the Inca Gallon, two columns of rock with one lintel in the top of the center. So it's an astronomical observatory to mark the equinoxes and the solstices. This is the beauty of Titicaca Lake, my friends. And how deep is Titicaca Lake? Is 172 meters. It's the deepest point in Titicaca Lake, you know. And how high is Titicaca Lake? Is 3,810 meters above sea level. It makes the highest navigable lake in the world. Navigable, we say, because big ships can cross through Titicaca Lake. This is a great view of the island of the sun, with full of terraces for the agriculture. Our idea is the high plateau was the perfect point to produce potatoes, to produce corn, to produce the barley, wheat, and all of that products have been used basically in different points like Cusco, Machu Picchu, because the potatoes especially are impressively delicious in this area, right? And this is how the Titicaca Lake and its waters have been performing in this point of the world. Nearby this point, this is an Inca trail. It takes to one of the temples in the island of the sun. So Jacques Cousteau in 1962 had been diving in the Titicaca Lake and discovering, you know, different artifacts under the water, you know, like some idols made out of gold, silver, and ceramic. This is the sacred rock, you know, for rituals between the locals even today. This is one of the temples in the northern part of the island of the sun, in Cana. It's like a labyrinth. You have different ways to go in, but inside are like many gaps, little rooms, etc., to visit. Now this is in the island of the sun. And in other islands in Peru, they have also very interesting archaeological sites. But the island of the sun had been considered the most important one because it's located in the center of Titicaca Lake. Is the perfect point to see the sunset, the sunrise in the morning and the sunset in the afternoon. And they were considering the energy being concentrated in this island. Lake, one of the very impressive natural sections, the Altiplano in Bolivia. And so this is Titicaca Lake, my friends, and some niches for the very ritualistic idea. This is more have been used by the Incas, but have been used before by the pre-Inca civilization. Tiwanaku was the name, and the Aymaras. Okay.
Thank you so much, Renan. It's been a really beautiful exposition. I think you have summarized in about 50 minutes really many good reasons to visit Bolivia, and also not just considering Bolivia an interesting, one more interesting destination in South America, one of the highlights of South America. So as you said very well, Bolivia is the heart of South America.